Greetings. Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to my public Facebook page. A special greeting to members of the Carmen Nation who followed recently after my interview on Faith Radio with Carmen. The reason I'm making this video is Carmen gave me a homework assignment. She does that from time to time with guests, and I'm not the first. So a little background, review for context. In 1999, in my second call, I began a project of studying movies from Hollywood on spiritual themes. I was working closely with the youth group and was concerned about spiritual messages that they were getting from the movies that they attended. So I began seeing very many movies out of Hollywood with spiritual themes. Many of those movies in 1999 were movies that I would not have seen, but for the fact that my young people were seeing them, and it was important to me to be able to discuss them intelligently. During the interview with Carmen, I talked about the fact that one of those movies in particular struck me as so dark that it took me 2 weeks of intentionality to wash off the spiritual stain on my soul from having watched that movie. In the interview on Faith Radio, Reconnecting with Carmen, several people texted in and asked the question, what did you do? How did you clean that stain off of your soul? And I made some comments about that on the air in the interview with Carmen, but she suggested that I do a follow-up and make it available to people on my Facebook page. So I want to make sure and do that. In the year 2000, the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America came out with a very important program. They called it Living Faith Practices. It was based upon the traditional marks of discipleship. The idea was that Lutherans were not doing a very good job of discipleship and we could do better. And so the 7 Living Faith Practices was put into a sermon series with an accompanying Bible study. And the 7 Living Faith Practices are pray, worship, study the Bible, invite others, encourage younger generations, serve, and give. And I preached on the 7 Living Faith Practices at every congregation that I have served. And by way of reference material or follow-up, if anyone is interested in seeing a longer exposition of that in the form of a sermon series, 2 of those congregations that I served have archived that sermon series, and I can make it available for you through my public Facebook fan page, which you are following. And I'm happy to provide the links for that if you're interested. The important thing for our purposes today is that those 7 Living Faith Practices are the answer to the question, what do you do to take the stain off your soul from something that you have seen and experienced? I did mention during the interview that one of the reasons that I do this in terms of watching and reflecting on movies, and the reason that Plugged In exists is that there are some movies that are watched so that you don't have to. I always appreciate Adam Holtz's segment on Reconnecting with Carmen on Friday mornings because of the movie reviews that he does. And I go often to the Plugged In website to check for movie reviews. So the reason that's important is the best way to protect yourself is there are some movies you shouldn't see. But there is a tendency for us to make that category bigger than it needs to be. And that's why I appreciate Adam Holtz's reviews so much, because Adam helps with that distinction in terms of what you should or shouldn't see and what to expect. As I'm sitting here, I'm reminded of the comment on Facebook during Shark Week. I was really surprised during Shark Week when they listed the 5 best ways to avoid a shark attack, and staying out of the ocean was not number one. So there are some movies that you don't want to see. I've seen them because young people have seen them, but you don't need to see them because other people have done that for you. During my interview with Carmen, I talked about the first 3 that had a primary role in cleaning my soul from what I experienced in that particular movie back in 1999. The first one we talked about is prayer. Praying to a God who is walking with us every step of our life. The Latin phrase for that is coram Deo. It means always in the presence of God. So when I teach students, I share with them that praying is not like making a phone call or sending an email or writing a letter. Praying is more like turning to your closest friend who is walking right next to you and talking about what you're experiencing. The other thing related to that I mentioned in the interview is singing. I sing a lot. I am a soloist. In fact, if you go to my YouTube channel, which you will now be able to do, you will see, in addition to me reading my book, chapter by chapter, a series of videos of concerts. In 2014, the band that I was in toured the country of Latvia, and we did 7 concerts in 8 nights, sharing Christian music with young people. And we had 4 of our high school students were with us on that trip, and they used their phones to record a number of the songs that we performed. Those are on my channel. A more recent band that I was in my last call, is also on that channel. So there's music on the channel. And the book that I recently wrote, Why I Believe, I wrote for the benefit of my grandchildren. It's about sharing what we believe, why we believe it, and why it matters with tweens and teens, which is what my granddaughters are. And so you'll find that on the channel. And I have always found great comfort in singing Christian songs. Now, that includes contemporary Christian music, of course. That includes hymns. For me, it also includes Christian rock and roll. I like Christian rock and roll. And so I've sung that as well. That's a form of prayer. I think it was John Calvin who wrote, "The one who sings prays twice." I found that very helpful. I also shared on Carmen's radio show that Christians need to be in worship regularly. I know there's a tendency today for Christians to remove themselves from corporate worship on Sunday, but that is an essential part of spiritual growth and development. And then the third one I mentioned was regular devotional time, either morning or evening, staying in God's Word. Where in the Word are you today? As Carmen shares every morning as she begins her show. So those are the first 3 of the 7 living faith practices. And I think they're really important for spiritual growth. What the 7 living faith practices are, the way I describe them is, this is what loving God looks like. How would someone know that you love God? This is what following God looks like. This is discipleship. Pray, worship, study the Bible, invite others, encourage younger generations, serve and give, and you will grow spiritually. You will become spiritually stronger. God's promise. Thank you for your time.